How are you?
I'm so excited to be here with you guys today.
Yes, we have. We're now 11 episodes into this, so I thought we should do a little bit of a reset. This is KHOP88. This is our attempt to reach all the members of the Hopkins High School class of 1988, the most fascinating group of high school graduates ever in the history of Hopkins High School, for sure, maybe ever. And of course, your hosts are myself, Jason Joyce. We are doing this show. I do this from my home in Madison, Wisconsin. And Marnie Glickman is with me every week. Marnie, from your home in?
San Rafael, California, an hour north of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Excellent. And joining us this week is our close friend from high school,
the Honorable Steve Simon. Why do I say the Honorable? Because he has been an honorable friend and an amazing public servant. And he currently serves as Secretary of State of Minnesota. He was elected in 2014 and elected to his second term in 2018. Mm-hmm. And I'm sad to announce that our second guest has a good excuse for not showing up. Do you want to tell us what's happening with Adam?
Yeah, he called me like 15 minutes before the show, and he said, I had to drive 8 miles to call you. He and his family have a place in upstate New York. That's where they're kind of camping out. And they lost power, and his cell phone runs through the Wi-Fi. And he said, I had to drive 8 miles with his son just to give you a call. He said, we'll see if the power comes back. It's that tropical storm, apparently, that's hitting the East Coast. It's like the after effects of that. So anyway, that's his story. And I believe him. So you'll have to do a makeup and have him back, because he really has some cool things to say, and he's had some interesting life experiences.
Well, I definitely have to share a little bit about Adam, and why we asked him here is not just because he and Steve have been lifelong friends, but Adam Samaha is currently a law professor at NYU. He has been a clerk with U.S. Supreme Court Justice Stevens, and I believe he also was a clerk for the Minnesota Supreme Court Justice, among many other things. So we'll have to save him for another time. For sure.
So you're stuck with me.
So Steve, you are joining us from the your bunker, the alternative Secretary of State's office. So these days under COVID, how many days a week are you at the Capitol, and how many days a week are you at home?
I am mostly here at home base. I go in periodically, but really we're supposed to. Everyone who can work from home is supposed to work from home. So I do that. I go in a little bit, but really this has been pretty much home base since late March. So my wife and I share this workspace, and we refer to it as Studio A. So, we got these Zoom kind of calls, and more than once in a while, I get kicked out of Studio A and I go to our bedroom, which is Studio B. So tonight's a Studio A night, but no, it's we're making it work just like everyone else is, right?
Yeah. So we're juggling up the order because Adam's not with us, but I'm not sure everyone knows what the Secretary of State does. The Secretary of State for Minnesota is not like the U.S. Secretary of State.
No.
They're not negotiating treaties with Iowa and South Dakota. So what do you do? What is a typical day for you like these days?
Well, so the job has basically 3 big baskets of stuff. The first one, and really by head count, the biggest one, is the business services part. So, people who file businesses in Minnesota, the first thing that you do before you get a license or a permit or, tax ID number or anything like that, you got to file the entity, ABC Inc., whatever. So we do that and a lot of related business stuff. The second thing that we do is we run something called a Safe at Home program, which about 38 states have. It's a program for victims of domestic violence, stalking, sexual assault. It basically means if you're in the program, you get to keep your home address a secret for all purposes. Like no one knows where you live except us and the participant, so that way they can hide out from someone who wants to hurt them or their family. And then the biggest thing, though, that Secretary of State offices are known for really nationally and in Minnesota is election stuff, especially this time of year. So really, overseeing the state election system and all the related, legal stuff and policy stuff at the legislature. So those are kind of the three big baskets. The last one is the one that takes up the most bandwidth for sure.
Yeah. We have big news here in Wisconsin today. One of the reporters who works for me is currently monitoring the situation about whether Kanye West will get his name on the ballot.
That's right. I
Deadline
understand.
was 5 o'clock today, and I guess he showed up just in time.
Well, I have a question for you.
Country.
I have a question about Secretary of State. Is the Postal Service being undermined to delay the ballot delivery? Tell us what you think.
So I don't know. I mean, I think the jury's sort of out on that. I mean, so a bunch of secretaries of state, we talk a lot, obviously, and we're trying to get a meeting with the new guy, the new Postmaster General, because of these reports that there are these sudden and pretty drastic changes there, like they're intentionally not paying overtime, which is traditionally what you need to get stuff moving, and that's not happening. And there's a real fear that in November, since so many more people are going to vote by mail, that could have an impact. So, I kind of want to wait and see. I sure hope not, because I know in Minnesota and most other places, it's just off the charts in terms of number of people saying, I want to vote this way. And so it would be bad if there were delays, of course. So we're trying to look into it. I don't know whether it's intentional or not, or what, but the stakes are pretty high, right?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people in my business, but people I know as well have really fallen in love with this idea of voting early, voting absentee, because you don't have to get it done on election day, especially in November when things are busy and you might have to wait in line at the polling place, et cetera. And when it comes to these issues that we talk about, where COVID will change the way we live for a long time. I just wonder if you're hearing anything about people are just more comfortable now voting from home and not having to be out in public and around people anymore.
I think that's a big part of it. Like that, we are literally in Minnesota, at least right now, as of this day, we are at 10 times the rate of people who chose this 2 years ago, and almost 20 times from what it was 4 years ago. I mean, like big numbers. And I think that's part of it. People are saying, hey, this is a great way. I can have the ballot come to me. I can vote with my feet up while I'm watching TV, while I'm eating breakfast, whatever. But there's this added thing this year with the pandemic where some people are thinking, well, if I vote from home, it's kind of a good deed too, in the sense that I'm making the polling place safer. So the people who do show up, the voters, the poll workers, whatever, hey, why not, dilute the crowd a little bit or reduce the crowd. So I think that's a lot of what's going on too.
So what is the most fun part about being Secretary of State?
God, I mean, I love the work. I really do love the work, just the democracy work. That's always been a thing that I thought was really cool, especially in my other jobs. And so that's great, just generally. I gotta say, I really love like traveling around the state. So I try to make a point of going to all 87 counties in Minnesota, like every year. And it's kind of a jigsaw puzzle, but it's just fun to get out, even if it's the little things. It doesn't have to be something formal or serious or whatever, but to get out and just meet people, you learn a lot, It's good to get out of the bubble. Everyone has a bubble. And to get out of mine and just being in, St. Paul, Minnesota, and in one building and getting out and just talking to people and getting their thoughts. That really is what I love. It's fun. I mean, it takes a lot of hours, but that's a cool part of the job.
So a number of people are joining us, of course, as happens every week. Hello to everyone. Thanks a lot. Please weigh in on Facebook if you have any questions. Brad Jones is here with a question. Steve, what is the most interesting thing that you have to deal with that none of us would probably think you have to deal with?
Oh, God. That none of us would think. I don't know about the last part about none of you would think, but I get just interesting citizen questions, comments, praise, insults, everything. And that comes with the territory. So that's one thing I would say. There are other cool, little duties. I don't know if they call them little, but for example, you always learn in civics class or social studies class that, you have the vote for president and then you have the electoral college. Well, I got to convene the electoral college for Minnesota in 2016, which is really cool. You have the actual electors and the alternates and they cast the official votes for president, So technically that's how we're electing the president. So it's a big ceremony, and that's one thing that's a little bit below the radar.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool and potentially politically.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Be a little trivia. Stacy Semler has a related question. So what are other ways citizens can participate in changing laws, aside from voting?
You know, I just read something about that today, about how, like, look, everyone always emphasizes voting, and that's huge, obviously. But look, you make change in many ways. Voting is a big way, probably the biggest way, of course. But there are so many movements throughout American history that had nothing to do with electing people to any office. You know, the Civil Rights Movement, for example, it led to legislation, but ultimately changes were made just because of demonstrations or just because of movements in American history. So, you know, I think generally speaking, that's true. It's always a balance. Obviously, the attention is on voting this year, 13 weeks from today, by the way.
Do you have a dog?
We have 2 dogs. Yeah, we have this house is a zoo. What's that?
Do they want to participate in the Zoom?
They better not. They get along great. Yeah, we have 2 dogs and 2 cats, which is insane.
Nice.
It is insane, but it's okay. We love them.
So Chris Camp Glazer is in, and she's asking
Oh,
a
cool.
question that's related to something that Marnie and I were talking about. So Chris wonders if you served anywhere before Secretary of State. I'd like to just expand that a little bit to, I know you were in the House of Representatives for a period of time.
Yeah.
And running for the House of Representatives, I mean, straight up, in 1987, many of us could have foreseen the day that Steve Simon would have run for office. Not a shock. But what process did you go through to actually make the decision, like, okay, I really am going to run for office. I'm going to do something that I thought about doing, you know, my whole life maybe.
It's a surreal kind of thing looking back. So, you know, I'd always been sort of active in public affairs stuff or political stuff. And it really came down to a particular situation and like particular facts. So I was living in St. Louis Park, and I was happy in my other job, but there was an incumbent legislator who was doing some bad stuff. Good person, but just, you know, making some bad moves and bad decisions, I thought at least, and a lot of other people thought. And I just decided, you know what, instead of carping about it, why don't I try to do something about it? And that's really how it happened. That was in 2004, and I ran for the legislature. And so, and then I was 10 years in the Minnesota legislature, and then 2014 ran for Secretary of State. So,
well, let's go back a little bit before that. I know that the 3 of us served together on the Hopkins High Student Government.
we did.
Were you, I have a couple other election questions. We also, the 3 of us, served in youth in government, which was a model state government program. Were you elected to any office in youth in government?
I was not. I ran as a junior for an office, but I didn't get it.
Which one?
Governor.
Yes, I have this vague memory.
Yeah.
Youth in government governor.
Yeah, and you know what our slogan was? It was actually pretty good at the time. I wish I had thought of it. I hadn't. Our slogan at the time was, and we were juniors, and like all the other people running were seniors, so that was like a big deal at the time. And our slogan was, leadership, not bullshit, with a P. So, you know,
Fantastic.
pretty good slogan. I didn't think of it, but
Harry Chow's is here, and he says he was robbed.
you know, we'll never know for sure, right, Harry? Good to see Harry. It's good that we're allowing class of '89 people to join. This is open to anyone. Hi, Harry.
If you select 89ers, if
Right.
either way into our.
And so there was youth in government, and we were on student council together. Were you on student council? And you and I went to North Junior High. Did we have student council?
Yeah, I was on it in North too.
Was I?
I think you were, yeah. I wasn't on it every year, but I was on it at least one year, I think, at North, yeah. Yes, and we were on, you know, Student Senate. I loved your show with Ramon. I mean, Ramon's just entertaining and fun in his own right, but the fact that we came to know him because he was the advisor for Student Senate, that was
So
cool.
I'm gonna go back into our childhood a little bit, because Steve and I have known each other since elementary school.
Mhm.
And so how young were you when you became interested in government and public service, honestly?
So honestly, you know what? To me, here's how it sort of went down. Like my parents were not political types at all. I didn't get this at the dinner table or anything like that. I mean, they were interested. They were, they voted and that kind of stuff, but they did not push this or anything like that. But for some reason, and I can't really trace why, I got really interested in the news. Just like literally TV news, like what was going on, the wars, the famines, the elections, whatever. And the analogy I kind of use sometimes is, after a while, when you start to just glance at that or watch that, you start to develop a rooting interest, and it would be weird if you didn't. So, for example, if you ran into someone who said, I watch 20 baseball games a week, and then you ask them, who's your favorite team? And they said, what do you mean? I don't have one. I just watch the games. That would seem weird. And the same thing is for news. Like you start to think about it, even as a kid, like, okay, yeah, I get it, the headlines, the wars, the famines. But then you start to develop, okay, here's how I wish it would turn out. Here's what I want to happen next, or, that kind of thing. And that just leads to other involvement in, groups or extracurricular activities or political campaigns and things like that. That's the best I can do for how I sort of stumbled into the interest.
Well, I have a memory of being in kindergarten in 1976 at Fern Hill Elementary School in St. Louis Park, and they held a presidential election.
Oh, really?
And we got to vote, and they released the vote totals for each classroom.
That's cool.
And that was my earliest memory about being involved in politics. Okay, I have some trivia for you.
Okay. Hopkins trivia?
What?
Hopkins trivia?
No.
Oh.
It's personal trivia.
Oh, okay.
Because you are one of my closest lifelong friends. And so I'm not a hoarder, so I was digging through my letters from you and Adam and thinking I must have saved something else. And I found something, and I don't think either you or Adam gave it to me, but I'm not sure. So here it is. Da-da-da-da. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I do remember that.
You want to describe to everyone what this is?
I will describe what that is. So in 1988, when we were seniors, there was a presidential race, and one of the big candidates on the Democratic side was Senator Paul Simon of Illinois. No relation, by the way. And his signature, his trademark was he wore a bow tie. So his campaign would give out these lapel pins that were like a bow tie. And we must have gotten that at some campaign event or some big thing. I can't remember, and given you one. That's great.
Yes.
That's really cool.
I saved it. And Jason recalled he went on one of your boy road trips to the Simon campaign, or did you do it in Minnesota volunteering?
It was in Minnesota. Paul Simon visited the campaign office in, I think, St. Paul.
Yeah.
And yeah, a few of us went down there for that. It was.
I remember this. I remember during that whole campaign, Paul Simon's wife, Jean Simon, came to Hopkins High School, and I got to introduce her. It was at the large group. Remember the math large group room?
Yes.
Remember that? I don't know why that was chosen, but anyway, and I introduced her, and she gave a little speech on behalf of her husband, and yeah. That's a weird memory.
I mean, that's grassroots politics. That doesn't happen anymore, especially for a presidential race.
Right.
I have another question since we're nerding into the politics.
Totally. Yeah.
I have a memory. Jason said he wasn't there. I assume you were there, of being in the high school library and making flashcards from photocopies of the American Almanac of Politics. Were you there with me?
I don't remember if I was or wasn't. I'm trying to think of that. That sounds like it's totally plausible. It's totally plausible.
Yes, I have this memory, and then I remember saying to one of you guys, so it was either you or Adam or Chris Dahl, are we gonna get in trouble? Shouldn't we photocopy? Are we like, you guys might have cut out some of the statistics, and you refer to baseball teams, and I remember even in high school we had there were like flashcards that you guys used to show each other and quiz each other on.
Really? This is really retro. You're talking about flashcards. You were talking about handwritten letters. How old does that make you feel, right? Like pre-email, when sometimes, right after high school, we would write actual letters. Do
Yeah.
people do that anymore even?
I doubt they do, although they're saying there's a resurgence of it during the pandemic.
That's
But
probably right.
I haven't
That's
seen it.
probably right.
So we've talked about things. We've talked about teachers who have been inspirational.
Yes.
But Steve, also one of the things that I recall from high school, and this is, this can be inspirational on many forms, but there really was an interesting group of kids our peers really in the class of '88 that I think pushed each other, maybe not deliberately pushed each other, but challenged each other, because there was such a group of kids who were smart, funny, energetic and enthusiastic about doing things and being involved in things. And I think we just fed off of this intellectual curiosity that we had that didn't always come from just stuff happening in the classroom. Does this resonate with you as well?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. I've had the same feeling. I've discussed it with other classmates that I'm still in touch with, including Adam. There was some of that. I know everyone thinks they're the best class and all that, but there was something about our overall group and our class that was, I think, really cool that way, especially the group that you're talking about. And you were in that group. It was just, it really was cool. And I just have to say is, hey, at this stage in life, we all sort of look back on these things. That is something I did not get in college. I really feel I didn't. And there were advantages to college, of course, but I really look back and that was almost a college-like experience, exactly how you described it. And as to a teacher, you know who I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Of course.
But no one
Phil
else.
Avalon. Come on. It's got to be Phil, who was a colorful character, but beyond just that, of course, yes, he knew he was a colorful character. He tried to ham it up in class and all that. But really, I think he really did care about kids. And also, I mean, for all the grief we gave him, he did, I thought, I mean, when I went to college, I was better off for some of the, like the in-class writing,
Yes.
teaching you to do like an in-class timed essay. Yeah, he had all the, the usual Phil stuff, but that was really helpful. I mean, that was actually useful. It was more than just a spectacle. And so he's very much missed, and he was a big influence.
Did you have contact with Mr. Avalon after high school, sort of as an adult?
I did. I actually did, up to the summer before he died. I remember me and Adam Minter, class of '89. Adam ran for the legislature in 1994. And so in connection, I forget, it was somehow in connection with that, but he and I took Mr. Avalon out to lunch at the pizza place near the high school. What was it called again? Just further down, there's a little strip mall. Oh,
I do know that.
Does
I
anyone
know that Tony
in-
Cobb and Ray Betcher delivered pizza for that place. But I forget.
okay, well, wherever it was, that's where we had. And that was maybe July or August. And then he died of a heart attack at his desk at Hopkins High School that December. So, yeah, it was a few months before, in '94. Yeah, really great guy.
So how was he as an adult dealing with him on that? I mean, you were young adults, obviously.
Yeah.
But how in that context?
It was fun. I mean, it was like he didn't skip a beat. He was the same old fun personality, very opinionated guy, but also you could tell really cared about kids, and despite the bluster and all the rest. So it was refreshing, and I can't remember why. It was something to do with Adam running for the legislature, and we decided to knock on his door or give him a call or something like that, and he was just totally game to see us, and it was fun.
Stacy Similar asked, did you have pizza at Carboni's?
That's it. It was Carboni's, which is still around. I think they have a few like metro area locations, right? But not there anymore. But yes, it was Carboni's. That's it. Exactly.
Now, you have done some teaching? Have you worked at like the University of Minnesota? Is that correct? Am I thinking?
Yeah, that was a while ago. I taught just as an adjunct for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, I think, at the U of M Law School. That was a long time ago, but yeah, that was fun.
Did you borrow from at the School of Avalon in your preparation?
I did not. I was not, arms all over the place. I was not like, berating kids or anything like that. But no,
Pocket
no,
protector.
right, pocket protector, everything. You know, I think you once had a pretty good Phil Avalon imitation, if I'm not mistaken, Jason.
We all did. We all had.
We all did.
Bring it.
Yours, I think, was pretty good. So, you know, feel free to try it out on your.
There's no way. There's no way. The other thing I was going to bring up is debate, which was a pretty big part of your high school existence. Did you take any particular lessons from that you still kind of lean on? And do you, I mean, is this still part of your life, parts of what you learned in debate?
I did debate and speech, and that was fun. And I think that the big takeaway for me, especially like zooming out a little bit with some little perspective, is this idea that, okay, you know, there are always multiple sides to a single argument, you know, not just two, multiple. And it just sort of helps you think that, okay, not everything's black and white, things are gray, and kind of makes you appreciate that, I think, more than anything. But it was fun. It was a good activity to be part of. But no, that's the big takeaway, I would say, for sure.
Did you have a debate the last time you ran for election? I mean, they call them debates, not debates like high school debate.
No, right, yeah. So the last time I ran was in 2018, and we had, let's see, did we have, you know, I think there was only one that time. The time I ran before in 2014, we had like 3. I think there was only one, and it was on a TV show, a local TV show, and it was just, you know, like one segment, 8-minute segment on a TV show. That was pretty much it, I think. Less of a debate than just, you know, an interview of 2 people.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I have to ask another memory question.
Okay.
So one of the special things that I used to do with you and Adam and our friend Chris Dahl is have a special nights out with sandwiches.
Yes.
And I remember textbooks and newspapers, and I'm just wondering what you want to. I did a little teaser online that maybe we'd share what we were really doing on school nights.
So that is weird, I just have to say. Looking back, weird. But, you know, we thought we were pushing the outside of the envelope. So we thought we were, but there were a group of us, and it got bigger and bigger. I mean, there were like quite a few people at the end. And we would go out at night, like late at night, and we would go sometimes to my dad's office, if you recall.
Oh, yes. Well, we can start. I remember there would be like a car would roll up on my driveway, maybe like at 1 in the morning or midnight on a school night. I jump in the car. I remember this being Crystal, might not have been. And then first we go to Byerly's. Remember, we had to do
we would do that. That's right. We would go to Byerly's back when they had a restaurant. And we would just hang out there for a while, and then I'll go home. Or we would go.
I'm going to interrupt because we're running out of time. We called it super fucking sandwich nights. Let's be honest. And sometimes we would have dinner at Byerly's, but other times we would buy.
Oh yeah, right.
Bread, cold cuts, and potato chips, and take them to like your father's law office. Right. Is this reminding you?
Yeah, and we would have this big, you know, sandwich making line, basically, kind of like right. And we would buy all the ingredients. We would go to a grocery store, and we would just have this late night, like beyond midnight snack, I guess you'd say, right? I know it sounds weird. It is weird, but like
it was weirder. We used to study. I mean, I remember like going with like
not always.
History textbooks. I remember being in your dad's law office and like, oh, let's read the New York Times on paper. Like sometimes we pick out the law books.
Right. I also remember the security guard coming around a couple times and us having to kind of fast talk our way out of like, not that he was going to do anything bad, but yeah, that's.
Was your dad ever aware of these, or did you cover your tracks?
No. I think we covered our tracks pretty well. Either that, or he and you know both my parents may have known and just like pretended not to know. I don't know, but I don't think he ever knew.
Now,
but
whose idea was it?
I don't know. It was like a weird. It was a weird blend. I can blame Chris Dahl because he's not here to defend himself. But but I don't know actually. And that got bigger, and especially going to the restaurants at night, that got bigger. I remember one time, started out with just a few people, and one time we went there and there were like 20 people. It was either Perkins or Byerly's or something like that. It was just a getaway.
I remember I never attended one of these nights, but I do remember hearing about them. And I don't know whether I was just afraid that I was going to get busted or what. But yeah, I was like, okay, that sounds like fun, but I will.
Well, so for me,
stories would come up over time.
Well, just like the way the house I grew up in, it was like fairly easy for me to get out. Long story, but Chris Dahl would like in the winter scale his roof with like garden tools going like this down the roof. I saw it. I witnessed this with my own eyes. And he would like step on the gutter, and then like he'd set up a ladder, and this is in the winter, right? I mean, it was just, and one time he wore like golf shoes or cleats or something like that because, he knew he'd need that grip to get up the icy roof or down the icy roof. And yeah, so that was, mine was easy compared to him, but yeah.
I'm glad. One of the reasons why Jason and I started this podcast was as a way to remember our friends who've passed away. And I think about their children and stories things we might want to share with them if someday they want to watch on YouTube. So will you tell us more about our friend Chris Dahl?
Yeah, so Chris Dahl, who I hope people who are watching now or watch later remember or knew or loved or admired or laughed with or at. Great guy and one of my best friends, and he died this February of a heart attack. And what can I say? I mean, it's like for others, and I know an episode or two ago, people were talking about Megan Blonigan or others that have died. And, when you share that history with someone, high school or not, it's almost like you have a shared language, a shared vocabulary, whether it's an inside joke or a reference or something like that. And then when they're gone, it's almost like that vocabulary, it's just a weird feeling. It's like that vocabulary somewhat disappears, right? You think about a reference or an inside joke or something that you once shared, and the only other person who might get it is not there anymore. And that's not unique to me. That's everyone who loses anyone, friend, parent, sibling, child, whatever. So yeah, and I wish Adam was here because Adam Samaha, he has some great insights. We were both at the funeral, as were others in our class. Jesse Lehman from our class, he was at the funeral. Bill Hobbs came in for the funeral. You got to have those guys on your show at some point. They're just awesome. So, we got to talking, and we just have so many great memories. You could do a whole show on just Chris Dahl stories. He was really a character, especially in high school. But and speaking of kids and the legacy of his kids, just today I texted his son, his oldest son. He leaves behind 6 kids, and his oldest just got engaged. I just heard that, so I just texted him congratulations. So I hope his kids, going forward, come to know about their dad, before they knew their dad, even the funny stories.
Yeah.
I have just a memory. He was just a kind friend to me during high school and after high school. And regardless of our political differences, we always had incredibly positive, interesting, caring conversations about the world and our beliefs and things that we cared about. And, I carry that forward with me throughout my life. It's the same as my relationships with both of you. I mean, I'm learning about being a good friend is so important.
You just mentioned something that is, I know it's a total cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway. Chris Dahl had very different political views than you and me, but who cares, right? I mean, that didn't define anything. And you get the sense these days that is affecting personal relationships more than it should. And he's a good example where that doesn't have to be. One of the last things I did with Chris was this January, less than a month before he died, he and I and Eric Oberg, remember Eric Oberg, class of '88, and one other person who isn't a Hopkins person at all, the 4 of us did something we try to do every 4 years, which is and this is, okay, really nerdy, I realize, but we went down to Iowa the weekend or 2 weekends it was before the Iowa caucuses, just as kind of political tourists. Trying to catch different rallies, and we never care who it is, Republican, Democrat. We don't go there we just want to see as many candidates as we can. And so we did that, and we had an awesome time. And that was like 2 or 3 weeks before he died in February. But, the point is, it doesn't matter. I mean, so what? He had one set of views. Mine are different. Yours may be different than that. But we didn't care. We were still great friends.
Marnie and I have talked about this, and this has been a theme through some of the classes when people talk about, their favorite teachers, or in some cases their least favorite teachers. And one thing about being in a class, we obviously were in Phil Abalon's class a lot, but we were also in other classes together. And this was true certainly of Adam and certainly of Chris Dahl, that I remember them being very willing to sort of clown the teacher, and not in a disrespectful to their face, disrupting the class kind of way, but it was like this moment in your life when you're a teenager and you're trying to sort of grow into adulthood, and you're realizing like, hey, this guy's, this guy's being a jerk right now, or this guy's full of shit, like we have opinions about that and we can talk about it.
Right.
And one of the impressions that I remember that I still do is, I think it's my impression of Chris Dahl doing his impression of Mr. Robinson, the math teacher, who would say, you don't bring your homework, you don't take the test. You don't take the test, you'll fail my class. You fail my class, you won't go to college. You don't go to college. And we would just carry it on. You'll die an angry, lonely death.
That's so great. That is an awesome imitation of an imitation. And I have to say, Chris would mention this, even in recent years, how you two went back. In fact, he would talk about you two went to the same church in Minneapolis, the same Sunday school, and he met you not through school, but you were like little kids doing that. So I know you knew him before I knew him. I met him in 7th grade at North, but you met him before that.
We went to sort of a hippie congregational church in South
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
Said that. He always said the same thing. Yeah. You talk about kids, whether it's Chris or anyone else, pushing the envelope with teachers. There's one time I remember in Avalon's class, Chris was like in the front row of all places, and he's doodling. He's just drawing like whatever stuff. And Avalon is doing one of his, type A manic lectures, and he really wanted kids to be watching him all the time or whatever. And he looks down and sees Chris doodling, and he goes, "Taking the day off today, Chris?" And without missing a beat, Chris goes, "Yep." Which not 18, I shouldn't say 18, it was like 15 or 16-year-old. That was like unbelievably bold. That's like Breakfast Club stuff, right? That's like, you're going to detention. I mean, he didn't get detention, but it's that kind of thing. He would always nudge a little bit, and that's what passes for rebellion when you're 15 or 16. But
absolutely, yeah.
For Chris.
For Chris, right.
With the cleats, escaping for sandwiches in your dad's law office.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Well, I think thanks again to everybody showing up here. I'll just do a little roll call here. We have Stacy Sumler, we've mentioned, Tony Burbeck, Joy Geislinger, Brad Jones, Tony Ceruno, Maren Carlson, Kate Stelmach, who again, I think is Kathy Cheetah. She'll have to tell us in the comments if that's true. Rick Marker, Libby Rydell, Joel Evans, Katie Keene is here. So again, we have a great crew joining us tonight. Thanks everybody for joining us.
All great people.
Steve, do you have anything? Do you have anything you want to take the opportunity to say or ask?
Plenty I want to ask you guys. But I would, well, first of all, I said this before as we were kind of warming up. I really hope, I've heard you say, and I've watched every show actually, I've heard you say, your ultimate goal may be to get to all 600 and whatever of us in the class of '88. I hope you shoot for that. I mean, it's going to keep you busy for years, but it's been really cool just to see everybody and make those connections. Even people I didn't know well, but remembered and know of or heard really good things about in high school. And you guys do a great job on the show. So I'm going to keep watching, and I hope everyone who's watching and hasn't been on prepares to be on.
Right.
And it's just really fun to reconnect even on the show with everybody. So thanks for doing it.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun, and yeah, as you just said, it's been great to chat with people that we didn't know very well, and we're going to start getting into that pretty quickly here as we dig deeper and deeper into class of '88. Marnie, you got anything else for Steve?
Oh, well, I don't want to ever leave the shows. I wish we could stay and talk more. I'm just grateful for your public service. I'm grateful for your friendship, lifelong friendship with me. And I'm excited always to talk with you.
Likewise. It's great to see you both. I follow you both on Twitter. Always appreciate your quips and observations. So thanks for everything, you guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I don't think we've got somebody lined up for next week at this point.
It's a mystery guest.
Mystery guest.
Maybe
Tune
it's
in next
Adam
week.
Maybe it's Adam doing his makeup session.
Mm-hmm. But we have some great shows scheduled in the future. I don't have the list. We have next week's mystery guest, but we have guests booked through the end of September.
That's right. There's no quit in us now.
Right.
We'll see.
You said you've done 11, 12 shows, something like that. So you've got another, I'm doing the math here, even at 2 at a time, you've got years worth of work ahead of you. No pressure, but.
Absolutely. Well, go ahead, Marnie.
Oh, no, we're good.
We're good.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, Steve Simon. Marnie, we'll talk next week. And everybody else, have a great week.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you, guys.
Be safe.
See ya.